guys, welcome to Collider Movie Talk for movie fans. I'm your host, Ashley Mova, and this is the daily show. We give you all the latest news from the world of movies, plus some insight into what it all means. Leading off the show today is Mark Ellis.
Welcome one and all to the best movie news show in the entire galaxy. My name is Mark. Thank you to all the Collider fans who came to Largo last night to watch me compete in Doug Loves Movies. Will I be back tonight? I guess you're just going to have to show up and find out. On today's show, we have a whole lot of fun movie news to get to, including a new project from Guillermo del Toro. Woody Harrelson is in talks to possibly be a bartender in Venom, and Jennifer Lawrence has a new flick as well. Who's joining me, Ashley?
Also here, Jon Schnepp.
That would be amazing if he was a bartender. That would be amazing if he was playing the Cheers character. Nah, that's kind of what I want.
His career would be full circle. Everybody knows his name.
Yeah.
Also here, Clarke Wolfe.
Hey guys, I'm not mad at any of those suggestions.
Congratulations on your new Lexus, Ashley. I saw it yesterday.
Thank you. You like my plates?
That's right. Very nice license plates. And we are going to get into all of the movie news that you guys see on the sidebar. But The Last Jedi comes out in theaters this week, and it's already opening in some international markets today. And if you're lucky enough to live in one of those places, congratulations. Enjoy the movie. And before we kick off here, I just want to make a quick note. Occasionally things come across my metaphorical news desk because I don't have a real one here. And I noticed something yesterday is the term spoilers gets talked. Sometimes we see it infiltrate our community, whether it's with a fan that saw a movie early or even it's somebody in our own industry. And such was the case yesterday when I noticed a number of my colleagues going back and forth on social media with somebody at a very prominent publication who wrote a review of The Last Jedi and had a pretty major spoiler in there, and then they got very defensive about it. So either this writer is just ignorant, and it's hard for me to believe that because Star Wars is a pretty well-known property, and you work at one of the most popular publications currently in the film industry, or maybe you just didn't pay attention to the fact that you had this in there, and there's a possibility that you didn't know that people were going to take this the wrong way. However, I think I might surmise something else, is that maybe you don't care about this, and maybe you think it's fun to antagonize people who do. Maybe you think it's fun to say, you know what? I don't care about you. I'm going to go ahead and give this away because this is my opinion, and I don't think it's a spoiler. You have to be better than that. It's hard for me to believe that you're not a talented enough writer because you work at such a popular place to forge your own review where you don't have to give away too many details. So let's take a second and just think about what you wrote back to everybody who called you out yesterday. You actually quoted that critics don't spoil movies, only filmmakers do that. Let me tell you a little something about the blessing and the curse that is human beings. Once we get privileged information, we are now capable of spoiling that to a group of people. If we give that unprovoked and unsolicited, that could be considered a spoiler. And look, I give you all the credibility in the world because I get it too. I get a little sick of Star Wars fanboys going at it all day online and having their theories and all this stuff. I get sick of it. But for every one of those people / bots, there's 10,000 just ordinary, everyday human beings that really look forward to this stuff, and they work hard, and it's a really scary world in 2017. There's a whole lot of scary things going on in the real world. It's one of the most politically divisive times of the last 100 years. There's other countries that have weapons that are aimed at us. There's a whole lot of things for us to be afraid of. So occasionally we can be forgiven if we just want to go to a galaxy far, far away and not know too much about it before we enter that universe. The words a long time ago in a galaxy far, far away mean we're about to enter a place for the next 2 to 2.5 hours that is secretive, that is mysterious, that's going to surprise us. So do not ruin that illusion because we work hard for this stuff. Okay? And look, you're a critic, you made a mistake, you went back at it, you did the one cardinal sin you can't do. You criticized somebody else's art, and then when people criticize you, you got defensive. It ain't gonna work like that. You need thicker skin, and you need to be better about not giving away spoilers. So here's my holiday wish, not just for this person, because I'm sure you woke up today and you realized the error of your ways, and you're gonna be a better human being for it. Anybody, whether you're a fan, you're a writer, you're a movie pundit, if you think that giving away spoilers is a fun thing, this is my holiday wish, is that you get visited by however many ghosts you need to convince your smug Ebenezer Scrooge posterior of two things. One, you are capable of spoiling something for someone else. And two, the righteous way is to not do it. So if you think it's going to be a fun gag, or you really want to get people who just get too excited about their stupid fandom, instead of doing that, just take a second, walk outside, collect yourself, and breathe. Just breathe. Okay, and now we're going to kick off the show, and the first thing on the sidebar is not Star Wars related.
In a thorough write-up from Screen Rant, the site has broken down the potential Disney-Fox merger, revealing that the rights to the Fantastic Four could be separate from Disney's acquisition. These specifics go all the way back to 1986 when Stan Lee licensed the property to Constantine Films, famously leading to a doomed adaptation directed by Roger Corman. In 1999, Constantine formed a partnership with Fox to approach Marvel with a deal in which they agreed that Fox and Constantine collectively share the movie rights. Now the question becomes who owns the rights, with many sites speculating that Constantine could actually retain the production rights first sold to them in 1986. This would mean that Disney doesn't have the option to buy the rights and would have to license them from Constantine Films. Mark, do you believe Disney will ultimately get the rights to Fantastic Four should the purchase of Fox go through?
Well, I'd love to take credit for all the new knowledge that I just learned about this story, but I have to defer to the person who passed me that baton. And luckily, they're actually on the panel here today, and that would be Mr. Jon Schnepp, where you enlightened me to the fact that I think Disney is ultimately going to get Fantastic Four because the mouse is going to get what the mouse wants, okay? And I also think that Fantastic Four, whether or not you care about those four characters, there's a lot of things in that universe that would make sense to have under the umbrella of Disney. Whether or not you want to incorporate that into the MCU at some point in the future, you want to throw Dr. Doom or the Silver Surfer in there, there's a lot of elements of the Fantastic Four that fans would get excited about. And if there's one team that I think could reboot the Fantastic Four again and make it successful and profitable and beloved, could be Disney and the MCU. You think the distribution rights could already be in the favor of Disney?
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of articles online. There's a lot of other sites covering this. Drawing into the clickbait question is like Fantastic Four gonna go over to Disney along with the X-Men and all these other properties. The thing that's buried there is like Constantine owns the production rights, Fox owns the distribution rights, and they're like bound together so that when Disney buys that Fox distribution rights, Disney is now the distributor. So even if Constantine made a Fantastic Four film for like $10 million, they couldn't distribute it because they don't own it. They could show it to their friends. They could go, let's all go to the Waffle House and see the new Fantastic Four movie that we made that no one can see. So it's just
why'd you pick Waffle House, Dale?
Well, because Waffle House has the most delicious waffles you could possibly get at 3 a.m. Frank.
Did you hear the story? There's a guy that went to Waffle House and every employee was asleep at 3 a.m. So he went behind the counter and made his own breakfast.
That is amazing.
Anyway, we digress.
Yeah. I wouldn't worry about it. Like the Fantastic Four is my first big comic book that I read as a kid. I was into monsters and Godzilla, and that was my gateway drug into the world of Spider-Man and Batman and Superman was Fantastic Four because it was monsters fighting monsters. And I've always wanted to see a great film adaptation of these characters. They're a family unit. There's a lot of humor in it. There's a lot of incredible adventure in it. It's been waiting to be done properly forever since it came about, and it's the first Marvel comic to come out. So it's very important for Marvel to get this property back and to do it right. And I feel Peyton Reed, who's been doing Ant-Man, he was developing it like years ago, and so I would love to see him get a chance to return to it. He's part of the Marvel fold right now. I'm not worried about it. I'm very confident that you'll be hearing about Fantastic Four for Phase 4. I've been saying it for 2 years. I've just been, I've been willing it into action, and now it's going to happen.
Well, it's interesting to me because I love the Fantastic Four trailers, and I was like, I can't wait to see this movie, and then the film really soured me on seeing them back in action. But Clarke, what's interesting is that the parent company of Constantine Films has noted that they might want to consolidate a lot of their broadcasting and focus on sports and sports journalism. So that could mean that it's up for grabs again. Anything is for sale if the price is right. Is Fantastic Four worth Disney ponying up a lot of cash to get the distribution rights or the actual rights?
I think in the grand scheme of things, it makes sense for Disney to own all of it, like Schnepp was saying, or have access to all of it, and like you guys were saying, all the characters underneath that umbrella. I would say for me as a fan, I can only look at the example of this year with with Spider-Man, and I was so burned out on Spider-Man and just didn't care for a lot of the Spider-Man movies that have come out over the last decade. And so I thought there's no way that I will ever care about Spider-Man again. And then I saw Spider-Man Homecoming, and I was like, I saw Civil War, and I was like, Spider-Man's great. I can't wait for a Spider-Man movie. So I think in the right hands, and it sounds like Peyton Reed might be the person to do it, or, I do think that Marvel has a really good track record of pairing directors with properties, not necessarily 100%, but I think they have a good feel for that. So if any, this the MCU as we have it now under Kevin Feige's leadership, I think has done the impossible for me and made me like Spider-Man again. So I can't imagine that they wouldn't be able to do it with Fantastic Four.
Ashley, I don't mean to torture you anymore. We talked about how fatigued we get about this whole Disney rights acquisition thing yesterday. If I ask you to be a 1990s cable guy, okay, and you have to go behind the TV, the fatback TV with all the wires there, and you have to unsort all this stuff and make sense out of it, where does Fantastic fall on your priority list of things that we need to get ahead of?
Not very high, honestly, for me at least. But I just don't understand. Can't money fix all of this? Like, Disney has all the money in the world, and this would be a fabulous opportunity for Constantine Films to get a buttload of money and their name probably mentioned somehow. So, I mean, I feel like this is a win for everybody.
Schnepp, this is one of your most beloved properties. You mentioned since you were a kid. Do you think that let me give you an over-under. By 2022, are we going to get a new Fantastic Four film, and how's it going to be?
100%, and it's going to be awesome. I'm very, very confident that Phase 4 will be Fantastic Four. They're going to introduce Reed Richards in some way, especially once this deal is cleared tomorrow. They're probably going to introduce that character in Avengers 4, is my guess. Or like they're going to start that setup that they do, like the way they set up Spider-Man. So I don't know if it'll be right out of the gate in 2020 when they launch. Or maybe they're launching, I think Phase 4 launches with Spider-Man 2. So if that's 2019, I think the reference is maybe Peter Parker's working for Reed Richards. Maybe Reed Richards' family took over Tony Stark's Avengers Tower. There's so many possibilities.
Isn't it a risk, though, to have to because you have a very successful property with Spider-Man right now, so wouldn't it be a risk to introduce a mentorship role for the Fantastic Four? Because look, people love it, but it's also very untested and hasn't been successful recently. So wouldn't it be a little bit of a risk to inject them into Spider-Man or something that's already known? Doesn't it make more sense to have more of a standalone movie, and then if that's successful, slowly incorporate them into the universe?
Absolutely not. It doesn't make sense, because why? Look at Marvel Fantastic Four #2. Spider-Man is in it. That's what makes Marvel so amazingly fun, is their universe coexists with all these other universes, henceforth the Marvel Cinematic Universe, exactly the same as the comic books. As a kid, I could always expect Spider-Man or Iron Man or the Hulk to show up in an issue out of nowhere. They're on a mission doing one thing, and the Hulk just shows up well, it's the Hulk, So that's the kind of thing that I'm excited to see, is that interaction with all the other characters, and for the Marvel Cinematic Universe to get some of the greatest villains like Galactus and Doctor Doom, characters that are just amazing, that were all brought in from the Fantastic Four.
I think a lot of people would lose their minds, Clarke, if you were watching a Spider-Man movie or Spider-Man 2 or whatever, and Doctor Doom showed up.
Yeah.
I think that's a pretty good way to introduce it. And if Jon Schnepp has anything to say about it, it's going to happen sooner rather than later. And now we're going to move on to our next story, where Guillermo del Toro, that guy just keeps getting busier.
Variety reports that Fox Searchlight has ramped up development on 2 projects from Oscar shoot-in Guillermo del Toro. Sources for the trade reveal Searchlight is in negotiations with Hostile's director Scott Cooper to direct the supernatural pick Antlers, which del Toro is producing, while del Toro himself is attaching himself to write and direct a remake of the 1947 movie Nightmare Alley. Antlers is based on a short story in which a young teacher discovers that her troubled student's father and younger brother harbor a deadly supernatural secret, while Nightmare Alley tells the story of an ambitious young con man who hooks up with a female psychiatrist who is even more corrupt than he is. Both movies have yet to secure a release date. Clarke, thoughts on del Toro directing a Nightmare Alley remake and producing Antlers for Scott Cooper?
Yeah, I think that what you're seeing here is Guillermo finding a place that he's going to call home for a little while in Fox Searchlight. I haven't seen Shape of Water yet. I'm the only person on the planet.
I'm seeing it tonight.
Okay. Well, you're seeing it tonight. Great. I'm not seeing it tonight. But anyway, so but my point is just that, I think Guillermo, like, you can look at his relationship with Legendary, let's say, which produced, Pacific Rim and Crimson Peak, and there was some fraught creative differences. I think in Guillermo, at this point is a guy who wants to make the movies the way he wants to make them, and he'll sit back and wait. He's not going to let somebody bully him into doing something the way that they want him to do it. I think with The Shape of Water, Fox Searchlight was able to invest a small amount of money in Guillermo's vision and approve and give their blessing for an R rating to make this weird fantasy romance, and it is paying off. It is paying off for them, and clearly Fox Searchlight is happy, and therefore clearly Guillermo is happy. So as long as Guillermo is getting to do his unfiltered thing, I think that that's great. And in terms of the actual projects, Antlers, I believe, is the one that's written by Nick Antosca, and he is the mind behind Channel Zero on Sci-Fi. If you are genre fans and you have watched Candle Cove or you have watched No End House, you know that Nick Antosca is a guy that everyone in genre is talking about right now, and rightfully so. He is doing really cool boundary-breaking stuff, very much, I would say, in a... he's not like a Guillermo del Toro, but in terms of his breaking boundaries and doing things that are weird and pulling them off, Guillermo and Nick seem to be a really good fit. So I think it's all really good news.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of Nick's show, too. It's on USA or Sci-Fi?
No, it's on Sci-Fi.
Sci-Fi. Yeah, it's a really cool show if you guys haven't checked it out. So that gets me excited. And Antlers, in general, having Scott Cooper be the director and working with Guillermo del Toro on this, I haven't seen Hostiles yet. I'm looking forward to it. I thought Crazy Heart was great. I love Crazy Heart. He directed that. He also did Black Mass, which I thought was good. He did Out of the Furnace, which is like, you can see the style that he has. And I think the same thing is going to lead into Hostiles and then this picture as well. But Del Toro's a guy, I really enjoy seeing his vision. And when you see The Shape of Water, I'm looking forward to hearing your guys' take on it. You're just going to see this guy, he's not just somebody who's going to throw, like, Hellboy is great for what those are. Those are so considered comic book movies that they have a hard time transferring over into something else. Shape of Water can be easily appreciated by everybody. I certainly think it's already been appreciated by the Golden Globes and a number of other awards outlets, and I think it's going to happen at the Oscars as well. So Del Toro getting a lot of work here. Ash, you a fan of Guillermo?
Yeah, well, just based on the plots, I think Nightmare Alley really stands out to me. Ooh, and I watched the trailer from 1947, and it is the epitome of what a trailer from 1947 seems like. It seems like you're in a horror movie and you're watching something and you're watching this movie, and it just seems so good.
Yeah, it almost felt like something like it almost felt like a teaser for an American Horror Story kind of thing.
Yes, exactly.
And it's just, there's one guy, he's trying to outwit this psychiatrist as part of a traveling road show, and I think it's what Schnepp and Clarke do on the weekends. And then they're going to try to outwit each other, and there can only be one. It's like a Highlander situation. So keep your eyes on the development of both Nightmare Alley and Antlers. I think it'll pay off. And now we move on to buy or sell. This is the part of the show where we're going to say whether we buy or sell a premise, and the first one is the guy that Spider-Man may or may not be a fan of.
In a report from Variety, Woody Harrelson has signed on to join Tom Hardy, Riz Ahmed, Michelle Williams, and Jenny Slate in Sony's Spider-Man spin-off Venom. The actor reunites with his Zombieland director, Ruben Fleischer, in a part that is being kept under wraps, only described by Variety as a henchman of sorts. Venom is set to hit theaters on October 5th, 2018. Schnepp, buy or sell Woody Harrelson in Venom?
I buy anything Woody Harrelson is in. I think he's a fantastic actor. Venom is shaping up to be a pretty incredible production right now with a lot of talent. It's going to be an R-rated film. It's Sony, so they can make that if they want to without having to worry about whether it's a mouse or not. I don't know too much about what the production of Venom, like at the storyline. I know Tom Hardy recently went at a Sao Paulo comic convention, released that Lethal Protectors and War of the Planet of the Symbiotes is like the comic books that they're basing the Venom series on. So, whether or not it's still going to be connected, they're saying it has nothing to do with Peter Parker or that Spider-Man universe that is with Marvel. So, I've been hoping that Peter Parker would show up somehow. I'm still not saying that's not possible. I think there's a misdirection going on. So I'll stick with that until I see the film and then slightly disappointed. But what I am excited about is the casting. So yeah, Woody Harrelson just adding one more. I mean, Tom Hardy is fantastic. So Taboo, if you haven't had a chance to see that, if you haven't seen Bronson, if you haven't seen some of the other films that he's not famous for, check him out.
Yeah, you watch that guy in Locke, and like if I'll enjoy him driving a car and talking on the phone for 90 minutes,
Right.
pretty sure I'm gonna like him in Venom. And you're right, a lot of the Sao Paulo news that came out of there got me more excited for Venom, not just as a picture, but as something that can stand alone on its own two legs, away from Spider-Man. And you add Woody Harrelson to this cast, and Woody Harrelson is just, I kid because everybody knew him as the bartender from Cheers when he started out, and then White Men Can't Jump was a very influential movie on this guy to this day. And then you see the diversity of roles that he's been able to take on. Something, he can do comedy, he can also do really hard-hitting drama like The Messenger. He was great as the villain in War for the Planet of the Apes. Clarke, Woody Harrelson now, especially when he's reuniting with the Zombieland director, Ruben Fleischer, this has all the signs of a win. I'm buying it, you?
Oh yeah, I buy it big time. I so echo what Schnepp said. You know, I love Woody Harrelson. He's just great. He's all around a great actor, and I love the idea of putting him back with Ruben Fleischer because I like them together. I really like Zombieland, and I like Woody in Zombieland. And you know, as far as like how connected all of this is going to be, maybe it's a misdirect, maybe it isn't. It's funny because I was with you, Schnepp. I was thinking there's no way you're gonna do this big Venom movie and then not have Peter Parker show up at least once. But then I watched Spider-Man Homecoming on Blu-ray and I was like, oh, this is so soft and for kids. And so maybe they actually will do a standalone thing. Who knows? But I definitely, as long as if Woody's involved, I'm in. And like you said, Schnepp, the cast is just great from top to bottom. So it's a big buy.
Yeah, and Venom is not necessarily just attached to Spider-Man in the comic book lore. He hung out with Hulk and Iron Man and Deadpool, amongst other notable comic book characters. And this is a Sony property, so as of today, it's not a threat to be acquired by Disney. But Schnepp, if you could see another major comic book character, whether they're in the MCU or they're from somewhere else, appear in a Venom movie, who do you think would be the most intriguing storyline?
Besides Spider-Man?
Sure.
I wouldn't mind seeing the Hulk. That would be a good one because, the Hulk with the symbiote outfit on, it's crazy.
Clarke, who you going? You can't take Spider-Man. Somebody else needs to be in the Venom movie. Not necessarily played by Woody Harrelson.
Boy, that's...
You can also take Ted Danson.
Oh, yeah. I might take Kirstie Alley.
She's taking the second one, not the first one, played by Shelley Long.
Nope.
Ashley, Venom, Woody Harrelson, you a fan?
I buy Haymitch in anything. I think Woody Harrelson obviously is so talented, and just to add to this crazy talented cast, I think Jenny Slate really stands out to me because she came from the world of comedy. She was hilarious in The Cruel Show, and then she went to drama with Gifted, and now in Venom. I mean, this cast is just shaping up to be amazing.
And the movie comes out October 5th, 2018, so it's less than a year away. Is this timeline okay? I mean, we're still adding cast members, Schnepp. I think we're going into post, or we might already be shooting the movie or being in pre-production. Is this okay, or are you worried about them trying to rush it out?
Not worried at all. They've plenty of time. I mean, having a year of post-production is more than enough.
Okay, well, we're going to move on to our next story, and it's about a movie called Burial Rites, and somebody famous is going to be in it. Your favorite, Ash.
Oh, yeah. Variety reports that Call Me By Your Name director Luca Guadagnino will direct Jennifer Lawrence in a new movie entitled Burial Rites. Lawrence will produce as well as star in the true crime drama based on the novel by the same name, which centers on Agnes Magnus Doder, the last woman to be publicly executed in Iceland in 1830. Agnes was sentenced to death for killing two men and setting fire to their home. The movie has yet to secure a release date. Mark Barsell, Jennifer Lawrence, and Luca Guadagnino's next movie, Burial Rites.
Ooh, boy, this sounds intense. This sounds like Jennifer Lawrence really committing to material. Mother was such a weird movie that I appreciated, but it's hard to glean a lot from that. And
Mother!
We were joking earlier, she's in the X-Men movies, and she's fine in the X-Men movies, but I think this is a role she could really sink her teeth into and show us those incredible acting chops that she has that are won, rightfully so, a number of awards. Clarke, this has tones of, I mean, you talk about the 1830s and public execution of somebody. She was accused of killing two men. Do you think that we go at this more from an angle of, is this the right thing to do? Are we unfairly accusing this person? Or this is fact, and we just want to see what's going through this woman's emotional state of mind as she awaits her demise.
If I had to guess, I think that we're going to see a story that where you think you know the story and everybody thinks they know the rumor about why this woman was executed, but we're going to find out why she killed these two men and set fire to the house. And also just from being like a true crime serial killer nerd, like women don't just kill two people and then say, okay, I'm dead. That's just not how the psychology goes. So it's usually like a reaction to something. So I think that's what we're going to see.
Not two
unfold.
people at the same time. You guys more pick off one individually.
Yeah, no, it's true. Serial killers who are women tend to poison their victims, use poison, and they tend to kill over very long periods of time because they don't want attention and acclaim like male serial killers do. They don't want everybody to like know about them. They just want to slowly do it. This is not what we're talking about here on
They
Movie
tend to poison their victims. Ashley, I am going to have to say I'm not available this weekend for your murder mystery dinner party, unfortunately.
Well, keep drinking that water
Yeah, I was
because
about to say, how's the
water
water?
might not be here a
boy.
My
week from
creation,
now.
peppermint water. It might be infused with something a little devious. Schnepp, this story based on Hannah Kent's novel in 2013. You pretty intrigued?
I am. This feels like maybe a little more of a return to what Jennifer started with Winter's Bone, like something a little smaller budget, a real life story. You know, something that you can kind of sink your teeth into. Burning both houses, yeah. You know, you're right. There's definitely a bigger story behind it. So call me intrigued.
Wait, I mean, killing two men, setting fire to their home in the 1800s. I'm not sure what the men did. If they did anything, which maybe is nothing, they probably did something. But this period of time is where I think the story takes place, she's actually awaiting what her sentence is and whether it's a death sentence. And so in the meantime, you're just in this weird stasis, forging emotional, romantic bonds, all the while knowing that you have this impending hammer coming down. And it's just, I think it's going to be a really interesting examination of the treatment of women in the 1800s, somewhere not, I mean, we know the history of America, and you go all the way back to the 1600s and the Salem witch trials and all of that. With Iceland in 1830, I think it's going to be pretty interesting, Ash.
Yeah, I also am a huge true crime buff, and I was reading up on this case. Oh my gosh, so fascinating. Actually, a couple months ago, talks of a retrial came up. Kind of, yeah, I'm that into it. Talks of a retrial. I know.
What year is it?
I know. Obviously, everyone involved has passed away since, but I guess to, kind of clear their names maybe a little bit because they wanted to kind of look behind the reasoning of what the murders were. And this case just sounds so fascinating to me. So fascinating, even though Jennifer Lawrence annoys the hell out of me.
Yeah. maybe she wins you over.
Maybe she wins me over.
And I know that there's been a lot of name clearing too with the Salem witch trials and things like that. They actually found recently. They found the actual knob because they didn't know exactly where a lot of them took place. They found the actual knob through forensic evidence or outside of Boston where they took place, and it was literally a mile from where my hotel was when I was doing a college up there recently. And I thought about going, and then I was like, I think I'm good.
Oh my gosh.
If I had my whole gang here, we could all go together.
Yeah.
Let's do it, Collider special.
Yeah,
my
at
God.
2 in the
You know
morning
what?
That
with
sounds
just
great.
like torchlights. Like, where are we?
I would say yes to Schnepp, and as far as you two poisoners,
Keep drinking that water.
Yeah.
Keep
Are
drinking
you
it.
thirsty, Mark?
have a sip, and we're going to go on to the Nutcracker, and maybe I'm around to host.
In a report from THR, Disney Studios has enlisted Captain America: The First Avenger director Johnston to direct 32 days of reshoots for the Nutcracker and the Four Realms, originally directed by Lasse Hallström. Insiders for THR say that Hallström, known for dramas such as What's Eating Gilbert Grape, Cider House Rules, and A Dog's Purpose, has not been removed, but rather was unavailable due to scheduling issues, and that he will be involved with post-production. Hallström released a statement to THR saying, "The film is in very good hands in London while I'm away. It's scheduled for release on November 2nd, 2018. Clarke Barisal, Johnston directing 32 days of reshoots for Disney's The Nutcracker."
I mean, all right. I don't care about this at all. I don't care at all.
You don't care about the Nutcracker? You don't care about the replacement?
Both, any of it. I don't care about this story at all. But I think what you're seeing, by the way, so Jeff Snyder, I think, pointed this out on social media yesterday. The idea that a director is unavailable to finish his movie is silly. I think this is complete nonsense, complete hogwash, I say. And Disney is clearly bringing in one of their heavy hitters, one of the guys they know delivers, they know gives them what they want. Probably Bill Condon was busy, if I had to guess. So I don't buy or sell it. I just go, yeah, okay.
She says hogwash, Snap. She's throwing that H-bomb around.
Right.
How do you feel
Hogwash.
about
I
these?
say hogwash.
Is it conceivable that Hallstrom is just unavailable working on other things? Or is this more of a Rogue One situation that we hear reports that, they wanted somebody else to come in and steer the ship in reshoots? Gareth Edwards was still around, was still helping, but it seemed like it was in different hands.
Right.
That movie ended up being great, in my opinion. Do you think the Nutcracker is in trouble, or do you think this is actually going to make the film better?
Hard to tell. I mean, Clark's right. When these kinds of things happen, and the director is like, I'm in the bathroom for 32 days.
Washing my hair.
Yeah. Can you just get someone else to finish my movie? That's not really how these things work. It's not like, unfortunately, you could think that way, but you'd be wrong to think that way. So Joe Johnston, who had just recently last month announced his retirement, is now directing how many days? 30
something 32
days. Yeah, 32 days. That's an odd amount of days too. That's a lot of days. So, how much of the movie are they redirecting of the Nutcracker? I mean, that doesn't fizzle up for me either. Oh, the Nutcracker. I'm like, we were talking about it in pre-production, like little songs when I was a little kid, like the Plum Fairy stuff and all that.
Don't downplay it now. You were really excited about going to the ballet and seeing the Nutcracker.
I'm not downplaying it, Mark. I'm just kind of trying to move on a little bit. I don't want to get into my Nutcracker lore of my past.
You're wearing tights right now. He's got the ballet shoes on. He's doing the show from his tiptoes.
Yeah. So anyway, the Nutcracker. Can't wait to see it, Joe.
I saw footage of the Nutcracker at a very special convention this past summer called what?
Z58.
Z58. I had the pleasure of being there. And they did have footage from the Nutcracker, and it looked amazing. It looked awesome. It looked better than Mary Poppins 2.
What?
So it is surprising to hear that they want to bring in somebody else. Joe Johnston, I thought Captain America: The First Avenger was great. People love the Rocketeer, so he's obviously got capable hands. And Disney, he is one of their trusted people to come in and do these things. But is this a different case than like Michael K. Williams, who had a role in the Han Solo movie, and then when Ron Howard came in to do the reshoots, it was reported that Michael K. Williams, of his own accord too, was just an actor working on another project and simply could not make the time to come back for the reshoot. So why is that different for a director if he's working on another project?
I mean, Schnepp, you would probably know more than me, but my first guess is if this movie, you clear time for post-production. I mean, you allegedly would have this time available,
As a director, you would be sitting in the edit room with the editors and the post-production people going over and making sure your shots are right and the edit is right. So, yeah, it's very fishy. So, none of us really believe the party line that's being told. It's like, look, so Lassie or whatever, he's been replaced. You got, kind of a studio dude who's like going to come in there and like kind of clean up. And I'm sure they're, maybe restructuring Act 2 and reshooting all of Act 3, or maybe vice versa. The entire beginning doesn't work, So, yeah, the massive changes, but I wouldn't be too worried about it.
All right, Ashley Mova, the Nutcracker. Is that on your must-see list when it comes out?
I couldn't care less at all. But you guys, I'm so gullible because I really believed I really believed him. I'm so gullible.
Yeah, me too. I was like, the guy's busy.
He released a quote and everything.
Yeah.
He was like, oh, it's in good hands.
Yep, totally said stuff. Totally believable.
I mean, also, he probably wants to keep working. So he's probably not going to be like,
true.
you know what, Disney, the biggest company in the world, that's also about to buy another huge company. They totally screwed me over, and I'm not happy about it, I tell you what.
I'm gullible, man.
I just love how easy this all sounds. Like, I wish I could just say, oh, I'm unavailable for 30 days, dude. Now I got scheduling conflicts. Then nobody ever asked me a follow-up. And I just go get to lay on a beach in the Bahamas for a month. And then, nobody cares. No, this is scheduling conflict.
Movie comes out with his name on it, directed by. And it's like,
yeah. I'm out one afternoon and I tell Harloff that I can't come in. He's like, "What are you doing?" I'm like, "No follow-up questions. Don't ask about my nap." It's okay. I'm taking a nap. Sorry, I take a lot of naps, guys. You need rest. You read Tom Brady's book. You need rest. You need hydration. That's why I drink all this water.
Poison.
I don't know if I should be doing it.
Poison water.
To this table. I want to remind you guys that we have a lot of shows right here on Collider Video, so go ahead, hit that subscribe button, and tell your friends about us because we have the top 50 superhero movies of all time. Keeps on chugging. A new episode drops every weekday at 8 a.m. PST, so comment, join in the conversation, have some fun, and try to keep it classy in there like Clarke Wolfe because she's always classy. We had a new Schmodown dropping yesterday between Nerds Watch and Blofeld's Cat, and check out the Collider scoreboard for the Star Wars The Last Jedi. Everybody gave their predictions before the movie came out, so it's a fun vid to watch going into The Last Jedi. Then we also have our non-spoiler review up where, you know what's shocking? Didn't give away any spoilers. Whoa! What professionals they have around here. You can also check out the Schmoes No non-spoiler review of The Last Jedi. And an all-new Awesome Tech with Jeremy Johns dropping Friday. All-new Heroes is going to be up later today. What are you guys yapping about? You got some Venom stuff?
We're going to talk about Venom. We're going to talk about, obviously, the merger, which is happening tomorrow. But we're going to mainly concentrate on some New Mutants news. A lot of little flavory nuggets for y'all.
Love it. New Hero is going to be up in just a couple hours. In the meantime, we're going to save some time for your live Twitter questions. Go ahead and start tweeting us right now at Collider Video. And we want to take one question from our mailbag. You guys can email us anytime, collidervideo@gmail.com. We'll try to get to it either on Movie Talk or on our weekend show's mailbag. And Ashley, there's a pretty anticipated sequel coming out this weekend in theaters. Is there another one on the books?
Bernard writes, "Hi, gang. How would you feel about Tommy Wiseau doing The Room 2? Would you like to see him come back into directing and make a sequel for The Room? Then James Franco may have a chance to make a Disaster Artist sequel too. Thank you, Bernard from Australia."
Just keep making movies and then movies about the making of movies. I do not want to see The Room 2. I can't take it. I think I probably speak for Ashley. I don't think that we could do.
We can't do it.
You're tearing me apart. I can't do. I mean, I saw The Room and then I saw The Disaster Artist within a 5-hour period. I saw both of them, and I think I've had enough of Tommy Wiseau, at least as that character, for a good long while. But you guys might have some information on more Tommy Wiseau activities.
Before Schnepp tells you all this really cool stuff. Spoiler alert. I'm going to spoil. Thank you. Ready? If you haven't seen The Room, he dies at the end. He can't come back for a sequel.
Yeah, spoilers!
So no, Tommy Wiseau is not coming back. Johnny is not. Although Johnny could have a twin.
Oh yeah.
And then come back, but I don't think any of that
Clarke,
will happen.
I think if you've seen The Room, you know that there's probably ways they could massage
That's
the lore and the canon
That's true.
to bring him back some.
He might be a
doggy.
vampire.
Yeah.
He might be a vampire. Maybe a vampire.
He is maybe a vampire.
Maybe a vampire.
I would love to see James Franco direct The Room too, and just make
That
this.
would be
It
great.
takes place on the moon, and it's just like completely makes no sense. You know, you do get a special. You get kind of a sequel, but not a sequel. To The Room. It's called it's called Best Friends, and I went and saw this a few months ago. I got a chance to see an early cut of Greg Sestero and Tommy Wiseau's new film.
So Sestero played Mark in The Room, and he's played by Dave Franco in Disaster Artist.
Yes, and it's a reteaming of him. He wrote it, and it's directed by a new guy. I can't remember his name right off the bat, but mark my words, this movie is not The Room 2. This is actually a really I felt weird even thinking this, and it's almost hard to say. It's a good movie. I mean, it's not like it's different than The Room as a film that you go to make fun of with your friends. I found Best Friends to be like emotional and strange and weird, like riding that line of a David Lynch kind of art film. And I was really surprised and pleasantly surprised by not just Greg Sestero's acting, but Tommy Wiseau. Greg knows Tommy so well that he's able to kind of herd in all the insanity that is Tommy Wiseau and channel it into a very memorable, crazy, and creepy performance. And the film just gets weirder and weirder, and then it ends, and you're like, what did I just watch? It's like, I guarantee you would not be disappointed when you see Best Friends.
You say surprised, I say shocked. And I heard you say this before I saw The Room.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, I can buy it. Then I saw The Room. Ash, you hear that Tommy Wiseau and Greg directed it too?
No.
Or he wrote it?
No, he wrote it. Yeah.
Who directed it? Was
You got to use Google.
But it
My
wasn't
brain is not
Tommy. So
working.
neither Tommy or Greg.
Just look it up on your
directed
Google
Best
right now.
Can you imagine?
I really have no words. I feel like that's a Twitter question that we get a lot. Like, what movie should never be touched or never have a sequel? And The Room is one of those. I just can't. I could not imagine a sequel to that. Nor do I want to.
It's directed by Justin McGregor.
Justin McGregor,
Yeah,
thank
who
you.
probably should be doing the Nutcracker reshoots and the Han Solo reshoots and any reshoots you might need for your movie if he's able to pull this
He's
off.
got a promising career. I mean, honestly, he did an incredible job at directing this film. It's fluid, it's surreal, it's ghost-like. I mean, I love the way the entire film flows.
All right, well, Bernard, there you go. It might not be a Room sequel, but it might be the closest thing you get. Best Friends is also a animal rescue shelter in Los Angeles. So,
Aw.
Best Friends. All right, see you at home in about 30 minutes, Molly. Let's go to live Twitter questions. We'll get to a couple of those. We'll call it an afternoon.
Okay, Grant writes, do you have an unexpected / out of field movie that'll be on your best movie of the year / top 10 list that most likely won't be included by others? What is it and why would you recommend it?
Ooh, that's a good... there's a movie that I love. I don't think it's going to make my top 10. There's a movie that I love that was so either ignored or people hated it or some people loved it. There was very few people that I saw in the middle of the road of this movie, and it was written by James Gunn, and it's called The Belko Experiment, and I loved watching it. I thought it was so cool. It was such a great effort. It was this Twilight Zone, Black Mirror feel, and what I loved about it is that it made me feel like I was there. And it's a story about these office workers. It's like Office Space, and they work in this building, this mysterious building in South America, and somebody takes over the building, and they end up having to make decisions that are like, am I going to execute this person in order for me to survive or for my group to survive? And you think, what would I do if I was in this situation? And it just, John C. McGinley's in it. It's got a really good cast. I enjoyed the hell out of it. I don't know if it's going to make my top 10, but it's definitely something I would recommend. Check out. If you're not having a good time in the first 10 minutes, feel free to live the rest of your life and turn it off. But I think it's something people can get invested in. Clarke, is there anything that you've seen this year that you think might be a little off the beaten path that might make your top 10?
Yeah, it's a slasher. No, oh my God, no, I'm tired. Sorry. Hounds of Love, Australian film, small independent film.
MK Songbird just wrote that on the chat room.
Good, you have great taste.
Wow.
And yeah, check out Hounds of Love. You know, it was we talked about this on our Nightmare special when we came back for a week in October. I think that this year's studio horror was so good that it was really hard for independent horror to break through because the studio offerings were great. And so there is, I promise you, if it were another year or another time, Hounds of Love would be one of the smaller horror films that people would be. And when I say horror film, it's a thriller. It's more of a thriller, but it's great writing and directorial debut from the writer-director. I can't wait to see what he does. The 3 actors in it are excellent. So check out Hounds of Love. I think it's streaming on Hulu.
It may not be horror, maybe thriller, but those are one category in the
genre. See, and this is
right
why
now.
I say genre, but that's a different story.
I say genre because me and Perry Nemiroff are friends. Jon Schnepp.
Well, this one should have been in the Golden Globes comedy section. It's called Raw, about it's a horror movie. It's a French horror film, and that's one that it stuck with me, and it's available on Netflix now, so check it out.
Ashley, anything that you've heard about that either we're yapping about or something you've seen that is now on your radar that is a must-watch before the end of the year?
I'd have to think about it more, but now that you mentioned the Belko Experiment, that's something that I really wanted to check out that I hadn't.
I think you might really dig it.
It sounds right up my creepy alley.
Yeah, it is a very creepy alley, and I think that you can drive your brand new Lexus right down Main Street because it's got a lot of elements to it. And again, if you're not digging it, and maybe you give it 15, 20 minutes.
Okay.
If you're not having a good time, just go live the rest of your life.
It sounds good. It sounds good.
All right, let's do a couple more Twitter questions.
Okay. Albert Warad Harma writes, what is the most misleading movie title?
I got one this year. And it's a movie that was recommended to me by Jon Schnepp. Might be in his top 10 list. Another one of the films that could have been a good answer for the last question, and that's Good Time.
Yeah, baby.
It's a good movie, but Good Time as a title for that movie, it's done on purpose with a wink and a nod and a very sadistic, sarcastic twist on what a good time may or may not be. You told me what the plot of the movie was. It involves a bank robbery, a heist, and the fallout from that, and the movie's called Good Time. And I'm like, oh, sweet, we got another Logan Lucky, Ocean's 11 on our hands, and boy, was it not that. It's a good time in a very different way than I was expecting. This is not a sitcom starring Jimmy Dynamite Walker.
I'll chime in and go back to the other Twitter question and say Good Time is another movie that I saw this year that you should definitely check out. It's fantastic, and the tension levels just keep ratcheting up. So just be ready to keep getting more and more freaked out as the movie continues. It's a fantastic film.
Misleading titles? You guys got any good ones?
It Comes at Night is a very misleading title if you have seen the movie.
You and I fight about this constantly, and I enjoy it.
Clarke, this is one of your favorite films, right?
No. No. No.
You got anything, Schnepp? Any?
Besides the one I stole from you, Good Time? No, I don't.
There's I'm looking at some people in the chat room are saying the Cabin in the Woods, Birdman. I kind of get some of these, but
what are a misleading title?
Yeah.
I thought Coco was really misleading because
That's a great answer.
I was like thinking, where's
That's
my
a
hot
great
cocoa?
answer.
I was like,
Also because
and also Coco. Yeah, I don't. No spoilers, Clarke. If you haven't seen Coco yet, you should rush out and see it. But Coco is not what you think.
Yeah.
12 Monkeys is a good one. I went to 12 Monkeys, and I'm like, we're going to see some tuxedos, some cigars, some banana peels. It's going to get zany. Not that kind of movie, but still.
Brazil.
Really good.
Brazil's another weird title. It's a very strange.
That's Terry Gilliam.
It's a meta title. It's actually kind of means something different than what you'd think.
Some Masadi says, One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest. No birds flying over no nest. Sorry you were disappointed by the movie. I think we got time for one more Twitter question.
Okay. A. Clay writes, what are Tiffany Haddish's chances at getting an Oscar nomination?
We actually brought this up last night on Doug Loves Movies, and we were talking about it on stage. Look, if it was up to me, I think Tiffany Haddish had a performance for the year with that movie. I would put that performance that she had in Girls Trip up there with what I saw from a Chris Farley in Tommy Boy, with a Melissa McCarthy in Bridesmaids, with Will Ferrell in Old School, where you're stealing every scene that you're in, but not at the expense of the rest of the cast or the movie. She played such a great complimentary role while also shining herself. And Tiffany Haddish, she's been a great comic for a long time. So she might be considered an overnight success to some people by being in this movie. She had a role in the Carmichael Show as well. She is great. Check out her Showtime special. And I would give her an Oscar nomination because there's certain performances comedically that I think nobody else on planet Earth could do. I was watching another one of my favorite movies of all time. This is actually the only movie that can make me cry from emotion and then laugh from emotion 5 minutes within the midst of each other. That's The Nutty Professor with Eddie Murphy. You watch that performance that he gave as all of those characters, or just Sherman Klump / Buddy Love. It's an Oscar-worthy performance to me, anyway. I think Tiffany Haddish is right up there, and I think it could be considered a Golden Globe snub, if not an Oscar snub. How do you guys feel?
I agree 100% with you. Tiffany Haddish is so incredibly funny, but yet in Girls Trip, she added to the performances of all of her fellow girls, her lady friends. It was like, but she stole the film. I mean, literally, she is the funniest part of that movie, and every time she shows up, you're like, oh, come on, bring it. I can't. What is she going to say? What is she going to say? What is she going to do next? Unpredictable. She was that X factor that elevated that movie. It was already a fun film, but she elevated it to why it made hundreds of millions of dollars. She's the reason. And it's not just because of the money, because it's because of the talent. So she does deserve some kind of a nomination, especially if it's not the phony Golden Globes, which are fake and stupid. It should at least be a real awards show like the Oscars.
I think that's what they're titling the broadcast this year, is the fake and stupid Golden Globes. Ashley, did you get a chance to see Girls Trip yet?
Oh my God, it was amazing. And I think what makes it so special is the surprise factor. Like, I wasn't expecting to go in and love it so much, so I would love to see her get nominated.
It's like watching a comet take off. I mean, like Jim Carrey and Ace Ventura. Clarke, did you get a chance? Am I overhyping this movie or her performance?
I don't think so. I heard the hype about Girls Trip, and I saw Girls Trip, I'd say about a month, maybe 4 or 5 weeks into the release, so after everybody had been talking about it, and left completely satisfied. And she is a breakout star, and if Melissa McCarthy can get an Oscar nomination for Bridesmaids, if Robert Downey Jr. can get an Oscar nomination for Tropic Thunder, I don't see any reason why she should be left out of that mix. I would be pulling for her.
Look, I'm a huge sports fan, and so when you're watching like an NBA game or an NFL game, sometimes you're watching a team play and you see somebody elevate their game and they totally take it over. It's like watching LeBron impose his will. It's like watching, I hate to bring it up, Tom Brady. I'm not a Patriots fan, but the guy's really good at football, unless you're watching the game this past Monday night, and it is so fun to see that in a movie setting, in a comedic setting. So if you have a vote with the Oscars, or you're able to influence the nomination somehow, all I ask is that you consider a comedic performance, and Tiffany Haddish would certainly be right at the top of this list. I want to thank everybody both behind the scenes and up here with me today. We got a little bit of extra time, so let's plug some stuff. Jon Schnepp, where can the kids find you?
You can find me on Twitter and Instagram, just at Jon Schnepp, and Speaking Robotically later on Heroes, and all that other stuff. I'll see you guys later.
Hey, congrats on not getting poisoned today. Clarke, Wolfe, unless you know something we don't.
This show's not over, Mark. You guys can find me at Clarke Wolfe, Clarke with an E, Wolfe with an E. I have my own podcast now. Episode 3 just dropped yesterday with Mark Bernardin. We talked The Terminator. It's called Sending the Wolf. You can find it on iTunes and Google Play Music and Stitcher, or you can find it at my website, clarkwolf.com.
And once again, my hat's off to the Wolfe clan for having the coolest name and getting somebody in the best industry for you. Have a podcast called Sending the Wolf. I love my last name, but again, it's no Wolfe.
I mean, my parents, they knew what they were doing.
But Ashley Mova's name goes pretty well right into the Movinator. Where can the kids check you out?
Yes, you guys can find me Dragon Mark down the alley back there and on Twitter and on Instagram, Ashley Mova.
I'm going to be stuck in the trunk of a brand new Lexus trying to beat my way out of it. Thank you guys for tuning in at Mark Ellis Live. I might see you at Largo tonight. You never know who's going to pop by. Until next time, see you tomorrow. Hey everybody, Mark Ellis here. Thanks for watching this episode of Collider Movie Talk. You want to watch more? Then click up here, or you can click right here for more great content from Collider. And if you haven't subscribed to Collider Video, do so right now and share this vid with your friends. Thanks for watching.